Hello, this is Roy Moore with the Scout Patch Auction at the 2009 Pre-Noack Traderie. And here I am with Hugh Mauldin of Lodge 179. So Hugh, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure's all mine.
Tell me a little about your history. We were chatting earlier. And how did you get into scouting?
Well, they had, at the YMCA we had a minor league ball team. And they had what was known as the Knothole Club. You went down the Y, signed in it, and they gave you a card to go to the ball game. And while at the ball game, I heard them talking about scouts.
Okay.
So I immediately found out, and I joined. I was 12 years old at the time, and I joined the Troop 28. It was Selma, Alabama.
And who sponsored this?
The Kiwanis Club.
Okay. Tell me about those early years of scouting there in Alabama.
Well, it was in the middle of the Depression, so you couldn't take long camping trips or things of that nature. But the WPA had built a log cabin, about 4 miles out of town, which seemed a long way in those days. And we would go out there. There was a little creek behind it, and that's where I did all my cooking, tracking, and most of my all of my second, and most of my first class climbing.
Okay.
The scoutmaster, the following spring, his wife got a better job, so they left Selma, and the troop was, when it come time to re-register, it didn't get re-registered. So, because I had gone to camp in '39, the council wrote me a letter, do you want to be a lone scout? I said yes. I got my first class and enough merit badges to star in '39. I went back in '40 as a lone scout and got life. And then in '41 I went back to camp 3 weeks and completed all my eagles. And I was awarded my eagle in December of '41.
Congratulations. Wonderful.
I'm the first eagle in our district.
Okay.
There were 2 before me, but they were back around 1930.
Which was the council name at this time?
At that time, it was the Montgomery Area Council.
Okay.
And we did not have DEs.
Okay. It was good to have a scout executive,
Right.
if that's what you could afford at the time.
I came home from camp in '41. A doctor, prominent doctor in town, called me and said Selma was the largest city in the United States without scout troop. And they had a man that was coming in there that weekend, and would I go talk to him and see how much he knew about scouting.
Okay.
Well, I knew he had graduated his 5th school.
Okay.
And there I was, 15 years old, telling the doctor it's all right for her. I said, I was his job interview.
Yes, you were his job interview, Eagle Scout at Selma.
So they hired him, and the first troop registered in that district was Troop 26, sponsored by the the Church Street Methodist Church, which I belong to. And I was the first senior patrol leader of the troop.
Okay.
And then when I graduated from high school in '43, went off to Auburn, and they made me assistant scoutmaster when I left to go to Auburn.
Okay.
From Auburn, I went to the Navy, gonna be a flyer. Navy sent me to Emory University. Then they sent me to Georgia Tech, and then they sent me home.
Okay.
And that was summer of '46, and in '46 they had an air scouting encampment at Maxwell Field, run by the region.
Okay.
And the region executive was the director of the camp. And I spent 10 days there and 3 weeks. Got home on Sunday from the Navy, and my mother took me to camp on Monday. And I spent 3 weeks at camp, 10 days at Maxwell Field, and then I went to the last national meeting of the Order of the Arrow.
Well, that's actually, we're here at the National Order of the Arrow Conference, and as you mentioned, in 46 it was a national meeting, but the Boy Scout, the Order of the Arrow was not yet a national
Part of the
program
national
of the Order. But let's back up, let's talk about getting into the Order of the Arrow. You told me earlier you're a charter member.
In 1939, they sent 5 boys to Birmingham,
Okay.
and they were put through the ordeal enough for a ceremony team.
Okay.
And then in 40, we had the first election at camp,
Okay. What was the name of the camp?
Camp Rotary.
Okay.
And then they elected the 3 weeks of camp. And then on Thanksgiving weekend in 40, we had the first ordeal that and then in 41, 42, I was on camp staff. We tapped out at every one of the every week at camp, have an election and at camp, and then we would have the ordeal while the camp was in session.
Okay. Oh, at camp while it's in session?
Yeah, and we went to camp, ran from Sunday to Sunday.
Okay.
And most of us that were there stayed all 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then we went to a second camp at Opelika, Alabama, for 2 weeks, Camp Spring Village. And we had elections, but the camp was not suitable for the
Order there.
for the ordeal.
Deal.
So we went back to Rotary when we were putting up all the stuff we had taken to Springville and had our first pilgrimage and put the ones who had been elected at Springville and a group of boys came from Dothan.
Okay.
And we put the first ordeal for Cowicky, which is 222.
224.
224.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
I hope I have as good a memory as you do. What was it like those early years? The ordeal, was the ceremony similar to what we do now?
very similar, except everything was secret. And I know in the pre-ordeal, while we were blindfolded, we had 2 sassafras fruit, not knowing what it was. And my job that day after the pre-ordeal was to build the council room for the lodge, which another group would be inductees. And we had that first ceremony, and then in 42, I was on the ceremony team, and always I've done métier part of
that.
And then after getting out of the Navy, I went back into scouting there at home, and then when I graduated, got married, we moved to Buffalo, New York, and the preacher, we need a scoutmaster, we need a scoutmaster. My wife's not doing any different. I said, can I do it? She said, okay. So for 5 years I was with Troop 166 in Buffalo.
Buffalo, New York, okay.
And we moved to Birmingham, because she said I spent enough winters in Buffalo.
Some might say one winter's enough winter, but I'm from Michigan, so we were used to it.
We spent 6 winters up there.
Okay.
Out of 5 years.
That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned going into the national meeting in 46.
46.
That was at what, Chinook?
Chinook Field.
In Chicago.
The last national meeting held.
How many went? Well, this would have been Alibamu Lodge.
I'm the only
one that
only representative for our lodge.
Okay.
And we didn't know anything about tax credit.
Okay.
Because the lodge didn't even have a flap or any kind of patch.
At that point.
At that point, I was put in a barracks with a bunch from Detroit.
Oh, okay.
And they went around and gave me all of their patches. So I did my first patch training, and I did get one gem. I got one of the Nanny turtles.
Okay.
It best I can tell from the blue book, it was a 1938 And then
version. Yeah.
there was the large.
Big green turtle, felt turtle. Yep.
Yeah.
They were. That would have been one of the most coveted patches actually. That everybody wanted to have something from Lodge 1,
Right,
the first
right.
lodge. What else? Okay, so that was at Chinook Field at 46. What else do you remember about Chinook and the
Well, we
people there?
ate in the enlisted men's
Mess
dining
hall,
mess
dining hall.
hall. We slept in barracks, and we pretty well much was free. We had the usual. They were not productions at night.
Oh, the big show.
Yeah, and we had a meeting of
The Grand Lodge or
the Brotherhood,
okay.
because I was in the first Brotherhood in the lodge,
Okay.
and I met the scout executives who had been there, and we got Brotherhood together. And the amusing thing to me is when we got in there and they tried to ask for the pass, he couldn't remember.
Oh, so you actually took your brotherhood at the 46 National
No, I
meeting?
took my Brotherhood in 42.
Oh,
But they had a meeting of the Brotherhoods
Brotherhood members.
We
Okay.
had a Brotherhood meeting of Brotherhood only
at the national meeting.
at the national meeting.
Okay, fantastic. Now you said this is actually your 5th NOAC that you're going to.
Right.
You were a scoutmaster. Did you do more scouting back then when you got to Montgomery or
When I
Birmingham?
came back to Birmingham, there was a short period in where I worked. The district chairman worked right outside I was a structural inspector for the company, and he worked right outside of where our office was, and we'd come and talk, and he was saying, we found out about my scout. He said, you got to work with me in the district. So I became a neighborhood commissioner, and the troop that was floundering in Midfield where I was living, and he sent me there to get them on their feet. And then when my boys, I had 2 boys, and when they got old enough to join, I jumped in with them, and I was assistant scoutmaster of that troop
Okay.
for over 20 years.
Amazing. Troop what number?
Troop 21.
Okay.
When in '86 I moved back to Selma. My wife died in '93. And again, the preacher, we needed a chairman of the committee. I took it. There was no assistant scoutmaster, so I was both.
Committee chair.
Yes, and I had a lady as scoutmaster. And the troop lasted around 3 years
Okay.
at the time. And it folded because she started out with a group in Cubs, and she stayed with them until they all got even. And then her husband put enough pressure on that she left.
Over, you're talking almost 8 decades, 77 years or so in scouting. How has scouting made a difference? How have you seen it make a difference in the boys you work with? How did it make a difference for you?
Well, I say that scouting is not as difficult now for boys to get eagles, but it's also, I'm on the Eagle Board Review in my district, and the only thing we don't like about it is we cannot ask any questions about how good a scout they are. It all has to be about leadership, ideals, and all that. And I'm well pleased with the ideals that the young men have today.
Developing in the scouting
Yes.
program.
And I have a speech when we get ready to say you've passed it, that the only way you can pay back these men who work with you to see that you got even is for you to do it for other boys. See that they got Eagle, and Eagle is not a graduation. It's
Right.
just a step in the path that you're taking in scouting.
Just amazing. Well, Hugh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the time to share with us.
Glad to do it.
Have a great fellowship this week. Have
I
a
plan to.
great trip and have a great contingent. Thank you very much, Hugh.
Yes.
This is Roy Moore.